Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be on this wonderful planet of ours. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. As we've been doing for quite some time, we're going to go directly to the Pledge of Allegiance and the United States National Anthem. Would everybody please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Evening, I'm Joe Torres. You won't miss any of Jeopardy! It will start in just a couple of minutes right here on Channel 7. But we do want to update you on the breaking news that we continue to follow at this very hour. You're looking live at a still very active scene in Lower Manhattan where a parking garage collapsed this afternoon. 6 people were inside that garage at the time. 1 person was killed, 4 others were taken to the hospital, and another
Sorry about
worker
that,
refused
folks.
medical attention. The garage came crashing down, 1 floor on top of each other, at about 4:15 this afternoon. At this point, officials say that building is not stable. Witness.
Okay, I talked about this, or I didn't talk about it, I'm sorry. We were about to talk about this before that you heard that come on. There's been a parking garage collapse in Lower Manhattan, New York. One
At this
person
point,
has been
officials say
killed.
that building is not stable. Witnesses say it sounded like a large explosion.
All of a sudden,
It did sound like a bomb going off, like something like a little explosion that happened because the whole ceiling, from what I've been told, completely fell down.
Yeah.
Now, authorities also evacuated several buildings in the area, including Pace University, which canceled all classes at its buildings around the collapse scene. City leaders provided details at a news conference.
This building is completely unstable, and the chief, we do not want to send in someone until we can make sure the building is shored up, but using the necessary technology, we're able to get a clear view of what's happening inside the building for the most part, and do whatever we can to see if there are any more victims.
So at this time, we have no reason to believe that this is anything other than a structural collapse. Obviously, that investigation will continue. Our preliminary response centered on making this area safe. That includes traffic control and evacuating the nearby Pace University building, which was deemed unstable at that time.
Now, several notes about the parking garage. There have been a total of 64 building violations since 1976, and some of those are still open. The most serious appears to be a 2003 violation for failure to maintain the building and some cracks in the first floor ceiling. We'll continue digging into that as the night goes on. One note about the evening commute. Right now, these are the trains that are all impacted and are running at slower speeds because of the collapse in the area there. No word on how long that will take. We'll keep monitoring the story throughout the night. We'll have a team of reporters gathering information. We'll see you at 11. Jeopardy!
From the Alex Trebek.
The necessary technology, we're able to get a clear view of what's happening inside the building for the most part and do whatever we can to see if there are any more victims.
So at this time, we have no reason to believe that this is anything other than a structural collapse. Obviously, that investigation will continue. Our preliminary response centered on making this area safe. That includes traffic control and evacuating the nearby Pace University building, which was deemed unstable at that time.
And as the police commissioner pointed out earlier, their role right now here is to support the fire department, and their role is to go in and to attempt to find anybody who may still be trapped. But it's important to note that at this moment, everybody who is inside the building is accounted for, and that would be half a dozen workers, again, who were taken from the scene. Again, as we said a moment ago, one of those workers has died. All of those injured, by the way, were workers, none of them civilians, although people in the area were panicked, as one witness told us about an hour ago here, that he was working in his barbershop and heard that collapse, came running out and just saw scores of people running down the street, clearly terrified, traumatized by what they heard and what they saw. Again, 6 people injured, 1 of them dead. That's it from the scene. This is Nassau and Ann Street. Now back to you.
And Jay, we want to stay with you for just a minute. And we heard from the mayor talk just a few minutes ago about how
hey guys, I'm trying to get rid of that
dangerous
broadcast.
This rescue effort was, and
I don't know where it came from. We're going to talk about it.
That the fire department was able to use, that
robotic
dog that we have talked so much about in the past, and also the drone. This is the first time that they have used a drone in this type of situation.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you could go back, 10 years, 20 years to collapse situations like these. And we have building collapses in New York, no question, where they did not have that kind of technology. But now they can do that. They can go in and send in drones, send in this digital dog and other technology like that to go into places where it was far too dangerous for people to go. And there have been many cases, sad to say, over the years where first responders have been injured precisely in that way by that shifting debris. We've seen it at earthquake sites around the world. It's dangerous. You can't simply assume that because the collapse happened that now it's all going to remain exactly where it was, because rubble shift and people can get hurt. Liz?
The picture you've painted there. Let's move on over now to Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger, who moments ago talked to one person whose car was inside that garage. Josh, I'm guessing that scenario is going to play out over and over as more people come to find out that their car was in that parking lot.
It sure is, Joe, but there's actually a silver lining to this from what that gentleman told us a little while ago. NJ had talked about how the fire rescue personnel are going to be going really car to car, those mangled, overturned cars, trying to make sure no one's in there. Well, the likelihood is they're probably not. This is not a self-park garage, so it's one of those garages. There are hundreds of them in the city where you park it, and the staff takes it upstairs for you. So that's at least a data point here that it's unlikely they'll find someone. Of course, they're going to be searching nonetheless, of course, as they must. But I want to show you here, photographer Jared Barnett's going to zoom in. We keep getting a slightly better vantage point. We're just on the other side of the scene from where NJ is. We're at the corner of Ann and William. And you can see how the brick on that building up on the 3rd floor is buckling and cracking out just above the window that itself has sort of been blown out and is kind of crooked at this point. One, like presumably that was not like that before 4 o'clock or so when this collapsed.
Okay, I finally killed it, or killed the broadcast. We were going to talk about this. Again, there was a multi-story parking garage in lower Manhattan that collapsed. One person has been killed and at least 5 people have been injured as of now. The police just set up a huge barricade around the entire facility so no one can go in or out of the facility. This comes at a time when people are trying to go home at night. Rush hour. People are trying to get to their cars and get them out. People are not being allowed to go into the facility. The authorities cannot tell whether the parking garage is stable or not. They do not know what caused the floors of the parking garage to collapse. So again, they're not letting anybody into the parking garage at all. Okay, again, this is in lower Manhattan. 1 person dead, 5 persons have been injured in the collapse of that parking garage in lower Manhattan today. And we appreciate ABC 7 from New York giving us that information. We appreciate that very much. Now, let's go on. There's a lot of other things that we need to talk about. Okay? I want to talk about what is going on with Walmart. Okay? This affects all of us. Okay? Walmart is a store that's across the entire United States. Let's listen to Fox News, Fox Business here about those Walmart store closings.
Walmart's going to close 4 stores in Chicago this weekend. By the way, that is half the total in Chicago. Lydia, who is here? Well, she's in Chicago. What is Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson saying about these closures?
Hi there, Stuart. Brandon Johnson is saying the closures here in Chicago are part of a larger nationwide trend. Listen to this.
Something that Walmart has been doing around the country. It's certainly some reflection of the way business is shifting and changing throughout the country.
And Stuart, Johnson's not wrong on that.
Okay, that was Mayor-elect Johnson in Chicago. Lightfoot is gone. Her term ends very soon, and this Johnson character is another Democrat communist there in Chicago, and he's saying he's going to be making changes. But Mayor-elect Johnson put in that information that this is reflective of Walmart closing stores across the nation. It's not entirely true.
At that point, you can see here Walmart is closing more than 20 stores across 12 states and the District of Columbia this year. But about the closures here, specifically in Chicago, Walmart issued a statement saying, quote, "Our Chicago stores have not been profitable since we opened the first one nearly 17 years ago. These stores lose tens of millions of dollars a year, and their annual losses nearly doubled in just the last 5 years." And Stuart, we had a chance to talk to a local business analyst who says that the problem with closing these stores here in Chicago, that's a reflection of the Chicago business community. He points the finger at rising crime and high taxes. Watch.
Property taxes can be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars even for businesses. We also have one of the most cumbersome regulatory environments in the city of Chicago.
Okay, regulatory laws in Chicago that make it hard for businesses to stay open. Crime is rampant. Higher prices across the board for shipping companies to ship product to Walmart, and to Walmart from the distribution centers at Walmart taking their trucks to different stores across the country. This has led to a huge closing of stores, not just in Chicago, but nationwide. Even stores here in North Carolina are closing their doors.
And now we're seeing 4 Chicago Walmart stores closing. For the residents that remain, that means fewer options for affordable goods, the necessities and grocery items that they so desperately need, particularly in this inflationary environment as food remains expensive. Stuart.
All right, Lynn.
Okay, that was Stuart Barney and this reporter out in Chicago advising us of the store closings, 4 store closings in Chicago, in the Chicago area, and other store closings totaling over 20 stores across the country that are closing their doors. Most of the stores here in North Carolina are Walmart grocery stores. Walmart grocery stores. The superstores are staying open right now here in North Carolina, and I believe the same thing is happening in Utah for the time being. But that all remains to be seen on what exactly happens over the next few months. As we all know, there's a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on. Behind the scenes, the elites of the government and also of the world are putting heavy pressure on Walmart and other stores to cut back on goods that are available to the public. We've talked about this before. I want to warn Esofue Alas, who is in the chat today. He put up a bunch of Spanish language in the chat. Please, folks, please speak in English. Okay? I'm not going to give any more warnings for anybody, and I want our mods to keep track of that. This is an English language channel. If you're in the chat, you must speak English. And I understand things are going on in Puerto Rico. That is very apparent to me. And it's apparent all over the world. Now I want to get into what's happening around the world when it comes to earthquakes. We're going to talk about earthquakes around the world right now. One of the biggest earthquakes is this one. I took this picture last night right after this happened. Okay? This happened last night at 9:31 p.m. Okay? 9:31 p.m. It came out as a 6.5 earthquake, and believe it or not, they raised the magnitude to a 6.6 magnitude earthquake. You notice all the other earthquakes around it? Down in the Kermadec Islands, we had all those 5s that we discussed last night on the air. Look at all these earthquakes over in the Tonga region. All over the place. These are aftershocks and foreshocks of that earthquake. Okay? Now, this happened over in the ocean near Tonga. Okay? Near the Tongan Islands. Okay? This is actually over in Fiji. But it's near the Tongan Islands. Okay? This happened at 9:31 p.m. last night. However, please notice the depth of this earthquake. Okay? This has it as a 602 kilometer depth. I've gone back now and I found out from the latest depth inquiry it was 592 kilometers deep. 592 kilometers deep. So if we even use that 602 number, okay, I want to show you this. I'm going to go to this chart. This is the depth to magnitude conversion chart that Rebecca and our friend in England allowed us to use. Okay? Let's go to the column here that shows 592 kilometers deep. Okay? It goes between 590 and 595. At 590, this 6.6 magnitude earthquake will increase. Okay? The propagation factor. Okay? These deep earthquakes cause shallower, stronger earthquakes. So even if this is 592 kilometers deep, guess what, folks? Let's add 1.18 to that factor. That makes the next earthquake. That makes this next earthquake a 7.7, 7.8 magnitude earthquake that's going to result from this deep earthquake today. Okay? Let's go over here to the top of this chart, over at 605. They said it was 602. Let's go over this one that says 605. Again, we just add a 1.21 to that, and what do we get? Again, a 6.78 magnitude earthquake, close to an 8.0 magnitude earthquake as a result of this deep quake last night, this morning. Okay, that is quite a difference. That is quite a difference. Now, again, this propagating earthquake, going from this earthquake to a larger, shallower quake, okay, it could go west. It could go west into Fiji, it could go west into Vanuatu, the Solomon Islands, the Loyalty Islands, and over to Papua New Guinea and Indonesia. It could also go east over into Chile, Argentina area, and continue to go up through the Andes Mountains in South America. It could also go south into New Zealand. You saw last night, I told you about the earthquakes down in the Kermadec Islands. We had a deep earthquake there that was going to result in a 6.5, 6.6 earthquake. So now we're looking at least for a 6.6 to an 8.0 magnitude earthquake as a result of that earthquake in the Kermadec Islands and this one over in Fiji near Tonga. This is a big deal. Okay, we're expecting a near major earthquake to happen as a result of this earthquake, and even a very strong 6 to happen as a result of one of the earthquakes in Tonga last night. That's what we're seeing. Okay, it's not just earthquakes in North America. It's not just earthquakes in South America, Indonesia, Philippines, China, Turkey, Iran, anywhere. It's down here in the South Pacific, and this could also go straight north into the Aleutian Islands and over into Alaska. Okay? Today we had a very large earthquake over in the Kamchatka Peninsula today. Okay? That fortunately was a shallow quake at the Kamchatka Peninsula. However, that same seismic energy is going to move over into the Aleutian Islands next. And it's going to go over into Alaska. Now, what does that mean for the rest of us? Okay? Last week I put out a warning for the Pacific Northwest and all of California to be on an earthquake watch for a very strong 6 to 7.0 earthquake all the way up and down the entire coast from British Columbia south to northern Mexico. British Columbia south through Washington, Oregon, and California to the northern part of Mexico. Okay? I put you all on an earthquake watch. This watch is for the entire country to take a look at. Please, folks, share this information nationwide. When this earthquake or these earthquakes happen, the propagation factor is going to be real. These earthquakes are going to be felt around the country. These earthquakes are going to be felt around the country. And I kid you not, they will be around the country. I want everybody to be aware of this because all around the country, everybody around the United States is going to feel this earthquake. Then, after that's done, it's going to go into Europe as well. It's not just going to stay in the United States and Canada. Canada's going to be affected as well, guys. that seismic energy is going to move across the entire continent. It could activate the New Madrid Fault, and we're going to talk about New Madrid tomorrow night. Now, I don't have a lot of time tonight to talk about California, but I'm telling you, things have not really changed from what I told you about last week. Things have not really changed from what I told you about seismically last week. They're just about the same. The only difference is something that I want to show you right now. Okay? Look at this. Look at this, guys. This is Fontana. This seismogram comes from Cal Electric over in Fontana. The seismograph is located in a private business here, Cal Electric. Look what it shows here. Look at the top black line here. The top black line is 9 p.m. last night. 9 p.m. last night. Now, what are we seeing here? Actually, it wasn't either. It was the night before last. It was the night before last. Folks, what are we seeing here? Over on the right-hand side, see that earthquake in black here? Folks, that is at least a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. We don't see the bottom of that earthquake because of all the colors after that. All the other seismic events after that blocked out the bottom of that earthquake signature. But you can see across the top of this seismogram the seismic energy that is being released all over this area in Fontana. This is real, folks. It's not just tremors. It's not just tremors. These are minor earthquakes, and it's continuing. The other event that I see right here on this seismogram is after 10:30 last night. The blue line at the bottom is 10:30 last night on the left-hand side. Just before 10:45 p.m. last night, they turned off the seismograph. They turned off the seismograph as if they're trying to hide something. Trying to hide seismic energy that was happening yesterday morning. Okay, look at this. 000 hours is midnight yesterday morning. The seismograph did not go back online until 3:15 yesterday morning. And again, even on the 3:15 red line, we go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes later. Okay? This would be 3:23 a.m. yesterday. On that red line, we have another earthquake. This would probably be a 2.5 magnitude earthquake, minor earthquake. But what happened between the hours of 10:45 p.m. and 3:15 p.m.? What happened? We're talking 4.5 hours disappeared because they shut off the seismograph. And it wasn't just this one either. There were about 8 seismographs that had been turned off for the same period of time. It was not just this one. Okay? This is a travesty. This is illegal. We pay taxes. We pay property taxes. We pay taxes on our income. We pay taxes for our food. We pay taxes on everything that we buy. And yet these rapscallions turn off the seismograph as if they're trying to hide something. We do not have information about what happened during these 4.5 hours that they turned off the machine. What happened in Los Angeles during that time period? This is southeast of Los Angeles in Fontana. And it was not, like I said, it was not the only one. What happened? Inquiring minds want to know. Now, just to give you an idea, there are seismographs that continued on giving us information. This is Del Amo. This is Del Amo. Okay? Now, we see seismic activity here at the top. This is constant seismic activity, constant tremor activity. There are no earthquakes on this seismogram. None. These are continuous tremors. That's all. Continuous tremors at Del Amo. Last week we showed you minor earthquakes hitting Del Amo and other places. Now, with that said, I want to take you down over near Long Beach. This is light hype. Remember what we've seen at light hype before? Last week we showed you a lot of earthquake activity, and we were talking 3.0 activity over here just east of Long Beach at light hype. Guess what, folks? What seismogram does this look like? This seismogram was copied. This seismogram was copied, guys. It's the same seismogram that I just showed you out in Fontana. They're trying to let us believe that this is over at Light Hype near Long Beach. They copied it. Highway Runner says the same as the previous one. She's absolutely right. Look what they did at Chino Hills. Out in Chino, California. Look at this one. They turned it off. This is slightly different because we're still seeing the tremors that are occurring in Chino, California. But they turned it off at the same time. At the cotton picking same time. Chino's still getting hit with these tremors. Last week it was tremors and earthquakes, minor earthquakes. We're just showing tremors here. What do you think is happening? What do you think is happening? They're hiding information. That was light hype, guys. That was light hype. They're hiding information still. Guaranteed, they're hiding information. I've never seen anything so stupid. When you hide information, what happens? What happens, guys? People understand what is going on here. People understand exactly what's going on. Okay? It's not hard to go 2 + 2 = 4. They're trying to let us believe that nothing happens there. That there's nothing going on here. Let me show you State Street. Look at this. Remember last week, this was a major deal, top to bottom, side to side, earthquakes and tremors hitting all over here. Guess what? They're still hitting. Again, they turned off the seismograph at the exact same time. Okay? We're still seeing all of that energy. But when they turn it back on, the energy is very much dissipated. It's like it doesn't exist anymore. What are they trying to hide here? The bottom of this seismogram that you see here is not real. There's no way in HE double toothpicks that is real. It doesn't go from being side to side, top to bottom on the top of this seismogram to nothing going on the bottom of it. It does not work that way. They are again hiding information. Hiding information. Okay? It's going on. It's ongoing. Okay? It's ongoing. That's State Street. Let's take you out to Walnut, La Puente. Look at this. Look at this one. This is Walnut, California, La Puente caldera here. Yes, this is a volcanic caldera that they built a housing area in. Look what we have here. Earthquakes. Still. We still have earthquakes. And what happened here? They turned the seismograph off at the same frickin' time. We're still getting these high-powered quakes. Okay? We don't know exactly how strong these earthquakes are. However, people in the area know. They have felt seismic activity. They have even asked the city for information, and the city says, we don't have it. Okay? That's what we're getting. The city says, we don't have it. But you can still see earthquakes here. That one on the left-hand side. Again, this seismogram came from the 16th, 2 days ago. 2 days ago. This red earthquake happened at 10:15 p.m. the night before last. They cut off the bottom and the top of this signature, so we can't see exactly how strong it was. But again, let's put 2 and 2 together. This one lasted a full 2 minutes. From the start of it over on the left-hand side, you can see, to the end of it on the right-hand side. And I'm talking about the primary waves, not the secondary waves up to the right, or the tremors that led up to the earthquake. I'm talking about the primary waves on the left and on the right. Okay? The majority of this earthquake lasted 2 full minutes. That's an awful long time for an earthquake. This one at the top, let's look at it. Okay? On this blue line. Okay? This is 9:34 the night before last. Okay? You see tremors that lasted for about 45 seconds until the primary waves started hitting. Then you see primary waves and lesser earthquakes. Okay? 2.0 earthquakes. Then it becomes primary wave again, and then it dissipates to a secondary earthquake, which is a 2.0. And then back to primary waves. And then a secondary wave that lasted another 20 seconds. Then it dissipates into a body wave, and that body wave lasted another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5 minutes. The major part of that quake lasted 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. Well, this quake was not quite as strong as the one on the red line here at 10:15. This is still serious information. We're having earthquakes that last 2 to 4 minutes. That's serious. But again, what happened for 4.5 hours yesterday morning? Sunday night into Monday morning. What happened to those 4.5 hours that they cut out? Why did they cut them out? Knowing what we usually get on this seismogram, they cut it out because we would have seen a lot of seismic activity. Okay, now I'm not just looking at this seismogram. We've already looked at 3 seismograms that showed the same thing, the same activity. There is a reason that the powers that be didn't want us to see what's going on in Los Angeles County, Orange County, and also the Long Beach to San Diego area. They did not want us to see it. Now, before I came on the air, I even checked the seismograms in San Diego County. Guess what? They do not show any information whatsoever. In other words, they turned the seismographs way down where it wasn't going to report anything in San Diego County. Isn't that typical of USPS and Caltech? They've done it before. On this bottom here in the black, okay, this is 3 a.m. yesterday morning. 3 a.m. yesterday morning. We have a good-sized earthquake that happened here in Walnut La Puente area yesterday morning. This earthquake lasted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. From start to finish, including a secondary wave. 8 minutes, folks. That is an awful lot of shaking. And part of this earthquake, the primary waves to the right were cut off on the top and the bottom. The beginning ones on the left-hand side were not as critical, apparently. But these primary waves to the right were apparently larger than they wanted us to see. So they cut them off, just like the other seismic signatures that you see here on this seismogram. They don't want us to know what's going on. Plain and simple. The powers that be do not want us to know what's going on. I have been trying to give you updated information. Give everybody across this world updated information on earthquakes. They're playing games. They are playing games just like I showed you last night on the world map. Literally earthquakes around the world that they're not reporting. Let me, for example, go to the USGS map right now. I want you all to see what I saw earlier today. Okay? This earthquake right here. Okay? Let me move it over here. I want you to see that it indeed was upgraded to a 6.6 magnitude earthquake. Look at this, guys. A 6.6 magnitude earthquake. But look over here at the top. It says 182 earthquakes worldwide. 182 earthquakes worldwide. What happened to the 100+ earthquakes in Turkey? What happened to the 35 earthquakes in Greece? What happened to the 30 earthquakes in Italy? What happened to the 15 earthquakes in the Caribbean between Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic? What happened to all the earthquakes in South America that they are not showing us? What happened to all the earthquakes? And I'm going to pull this over. I'm trying to make a point here. Okay? I want to make a huge point here. What happened to all the earthquakes around the world that they're not showing us? Look over here in Indonesia. They're showing us one lousy earthquake over here in southern Sumatra. A 4.6 near Bengkulu, Indonesia, Sumatra. Folks, this is a farce. This is a farce. Let me show you something else. I want to show you something else. This is important. Okay? We're talking about earthquakes worldwide, right? Okay? This is important. I think the world ought to see this. What about all these earthquakes in Indonesia and up into the Philippines? We're talking 25 to 30 earthquakes here in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and into the Philippines here. Okay? What about those? Now we're counting upwards of 600 or 700 earthquakes. Okay? What about those? Okay? What about all these aftershocks over here in Fiji, just south of Tonga here, with this 6.6? They're not showing those either. They're not showing any of those. How about over here in South America? They're definitely not showing anything there. Okay, look at this. Let me turn off the light on my camera here. Look at that, guys. We have like 20 to 25 earthquakes just here in South America, from Colombia south into central Chile, that they're not talking about. How about these earthquakes over here in Central America and southern Mexico? Swarms and swarms of earthquakes between Panama and southern Mexico that they're not telling us about. They show us one earthquake in Colombia here, a 4.2. There are 3 earthquakes in Colombia, not just one. South of Panama, there's a 4.2 magnitude earthquake south of Panama in the southwestern rise here. Southwestern rise here in the Pacific. Okay? All of these earthquakes in Central America and southern Mexico. Okay? That's another 25 earthquakes. And we have not even gotten to the United States of America yet. We have not even gotten to the United States of America. Now, look over here in north central California. It says 50 earthquakes. 50 earthquakes. 20 of those are over in the geysers. 20 of those earthquakes are in the geysers. Okay? Let's zoom in here. 20 of those earthquakes are over here in the geysers. Let's look at this. Look at this. They're reporting almost all the earthquakes here in the geysers. This is Sonoma County, California. This is a geothermal facility where man has drilled into a volcano to obtain steam to power turbines in this facility. 80 turbines here. 80 different turbines here. This is the volcano up to the north of that. It's called the Clear Lake Volcano. The Clear Lake Volcano. Man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of this volcano to obtain steam to power turbines to generate electricity here in Sonoma County, in the area of the geysers. In the area of the geysers, guys. Right here. This is actually, these are two separate banks of turbines here. This is a 12-bank system here. 12 different turbines here. There are a total of 82 turbines spread out all throughout the geysers complex. Why are we having these earthquakes? Because every place that man has drilled into the earth here, seismic energy finds those drill points. Those are man-made earthquake faults. And it causes earthquakes, doesn't it? Every one of these drill earthquakes here is just that. These are earthquakes. This is a 2.6 magnitude earthquake that I highlighted there in blue. This red one just happened. Let's look at this. This is a 1.5 tremor here. Let's look at a couple of others here. This is a 2.0 magnitude earthquake, minor earthquake here. Up to the north here, this is a 1.0 tremor here in the geysers area. Earlier there was a 3.0. They have taken it down. Okay? 3.0 in the geysers area. Over here to the north of there, this is Navarro Head, California. Navarro Head, California. This is a separate and distinct earthquake zone. A 0.9 microquake, and because it's a 0.9, I'm going to call it at least a 1.0 tremor because we've caught USGS downgrading the seismic events for their own knowledge. So later on, when scientists start looking at what happened in 2023, they're going to say, oh, nothing really happened. They're going to see 0.9s, oh, nothing really happened, but it's not just a 0.9 or 1.0 tremor. These are 2.9 earthquakes that were really 3s, or 3.9 earthquakes that were really 4s, and 4.9 earthquakes that were really 5.0 and larger, which are large earthquakes. This is what they've gotten away with. This is exactly what they've gotten away with. Now, I want to show you this one. This one here is over near Petrolia, California. This is still, folks, this is still in the Cascadia subduction zone region. The Cascadia subduction zone region. Okay, why do I say that? Off here to the west, okay, we see the San Andreas Fault, the northern part of the San Andreas Fault right here. Okay, it connects with this line that goes fairly well, nearly straight north. This is the Cascadia subduction zone. Off to the west, this is the Gorda Escarpment. 3 different major earthquake faults coming together right here. It's called the triple junction. Any earthquakes in this same area are Cascadia earthquakes. Cascadia region earthquakes. This is a 2.3 that I've highlighted in blue. To the north, guys, this one is still in Humboldt County, Humboldt Hill, California. This is a 2.6, also in the Cascadia subduction zone region. Okay? The Cascadia subduction zone region. Let's move north. Notice that they have not pointed out any earthquakes whatsoever in Oregon and Washington except this lone one over near the Puget Sound area. Okay, this one is a 1.2 tremor here in the Puget Sound area. Look at that. This is also in the Cascadia subduction zone region. We have had many earthquakes here in this area. What do we have here in this body of water that's just west of this earthquake? This is the Strait of Juan de Fuca. The Strait of Juan de Fuca. What are we expecting here? Like I pointed out to you earlier in the week, on Monday, and also last week. Okay? This area here that you see on the left-hand side, off to the west of Oregon, Washington, and British Columbia, Vancouver Island. This is a Cascadia subduction zone, the earthquake fault. Off to the west here, we also have the Juan de Fuca fault, the Farallon fault. This is exactly where we expect to see the Cascadia megathrust earthquake happen. The 9.0, 10.0 magnitude earthquake happen here. It's going to be a huge deal. Very much a huge deal. That seismic energy is going to hit here. It's going to be felt a lot further than right here. It's going to be felt all the way up the coast of Canada, all the way up here into Alaska, all the way up here into Alaska. Okay? Look at the earthquakes here in Alaska, guys. Look at this one. This is near that wonderful mountain here in Denali that Obama called Mount Denali. And before his term was finished, they brought it back down to the previous name. Okay? This is a 3.0 in Denali National Park. We don't see 3.0 small earthquakes usually here in Denali. Okay? But again, there is a big, huge mountain here. A very tall mountain. The tallest mountain in North America. Mount McKinley. This is a 3.0 earthquake near Mount McKinley. Okay? Now, all throughout this region to the south of Denali, you don't see many earthquakes at all. Very few tremors at all. Why? Why are they not showing us this information? Just like they don't want to tell us what is going on, period. The furthest north earthquake they're telling us about is over here near Manly Springs. This is a 1.4 tremor. Manly Springs, Alaska. Okay? Now, why am I telling you this? Remember that earthquake over here I told you about in Kamchatka Peninsula? Right between two volcanoes? This was a 5.6 magnitude earthquake. Look what I'm talking about. Look what I'm talking about. There's a volcano there. This volcano, guys, has a lake in the caldera of it. It has a lake in the caldera here at Kamchatka Peninsula. a huge volcano. Okay? To the north of this 5.6, there's another volcano right here. Last week, there was a huge eruption of Shiveluch volcano here at Kamchatka Peninsula. Here at Kamchatka Peninsula, Shiveluch volcano. A year and a half ago, Shiveluch volcano erupted up to 85,000 feet high up into the stratosphere. USGS denied it happened until 2 days later after we had already seen it. We told everybody about it. 2 days later, USGS had to come clean. Oh yes, there was an eruption, but it wasn't as close as Tyler is saying it is. Well, guess what? Yes, it was, and we proved it. Guess what this volcano erupted to this past week? 52,000 feet high. 52,000 feet high. Well, guess what, folks? I have more information now than ever. Let me change this out and let me show you the pictures. Okay? You'll probably be amazed at what we're going to show you. Pictures of ash. Pictures of ash that fell as a result of a Shiveluch volcano erupting. Okay? Let's take a look at it. Look at this. Okay? This is the ash eruption from Shiveluch volcano in Kamchatka Peninsula. You can see it here, going up into the stratosphere here. Now, let me show you something else. It does not end there. Okay? Let me show you this. Look how the ash spreads throughout that area. Look how that ash spread very quickly over that entire area, reaching up into the Baltic Sea up here. Okay? Now let me show you another slide here. This may blow you away. Okay? I want to show you what is actually going on. Okay? What you need to see here. This is a NOAA map. The National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration put this out. This is wild. I've never seen this happen before now. I said it might happen. It did happen. The ash is now spread through the northern Pacific Ocean. Now, folks, it has reached the west coast of North America. Washington, Oregon. It's going to spread across Nevada, Utah, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming into Colorado, into California, and points east. You may not see a lot of ash. You may see a sprinkling of ash where you live. The jet stream caught hold of the ash here and it's spreading it eastbound. You can still see a heavy amount of ash out here in the Western Pacific. It's coming, guys, and it's probably going to continue for several days as this ash continues to go across to the east. Okay? They said it probably wouldn't happen, and I quoted that. And now it is happening. It is definitely happening. It's amazing, guys. It's truly amazing. Now, does anybody have any questions about what we've talked about? Does anybody have any questions at all so far about what we've talked about? I will take your questions here. Michael McKinney says, sorry I'm late. No problem, Michael. No problem. We appreciate you being here. Nadine is asking, does this ash create its own weather? It could. As a low system, a low pressure system, a weather system, a storm comes off the Pacific, it's bringing this ash with it, and as it rains on the coast over land, it's going to spread the ash to the ground. This could be good for people to the east because it's going to clear some of the air, but maybe not all of it. Okay? Rob is saying, will the ash make it to the ground? Yes, it probably will as it rains. Not just as it rains. If you think about it, think about what happens in the morning. You have dew on the ground, don't you? When you have higher humidity, you get dew on the ground. This dew may also spread in the ash coming to the ground, on the plants. Now, let me tell you about what it does to the plants if you haven't already figured it out. What's going to happen? What is going to happen? The ash has acid in it. The acidic part of the ash will possibly burn the leaves of plants. So I would ask you to cover your plants, at least with a plastic. Still letting the sun in, but protecting your plant leaves from the ash fall. Okay? This has happened in the past. Okay? Sue Garamoth is saying, or asking, is there any volcanic activity in southeastern Alaska? No, not right now. In southeastern Alaska, we have 2 volcanoes there. Sitkin and Edgecumbe volcano. Sitkin and Edgecumbe volcano. Both of them are showing some activity, but not an eruption. They're showing some seismic activity, but not an eruption. Okay? Heather lives in Northern California near Mount Shasta, just east of Mount Shasta. Okay? Michael McKinney said we had fog yesterday morning. That fog could contain ash. I don't think you probably had any ash there yesterday morning. But in the coming days, you might have that depending on where you live. Okay? Michael McKinney says, so air quality might take a hit. Yes, it will. If you live in an area where that ash comes in and they start talking about thick ash amounts on your weather reports, you need to think about putting something over your face so you're not inhaling that ash. Okay? If there's a thick amount of ash coming in your area and the weatherman warns for it, you need to think about covering your face so you don't breathe that stuff in. And you might want to wear glasses or goggles if there's heavy enough ash. I don't think it's going to be that bad. It would be that bad around the eruption itself. Okay? I'm just giving you a thumbs up here so you could get some help yourself or be able to help yourself. Okay? Hurricane Heather says, watch your air quality reports. Purple Air is a great app. I agree, that is a good app. I occasionally use it. Of course, I've got 6 or 7 apps on my phone specifically related to the job that I do. So I can be able to report on everything. Okay? Any other questions? I know we've quickly gone through the earthquake scenarios. We've quickly gone through the weather as well here. Any other information here? Okay, we reported on that disaster, or that emergency anyway, over in New York early on. We reported on that garage collapsing in New York. Killed 1 person, injured 5 so far. Hurricane Heather says, how are you, sir? I'm all right. I'm all right. I hope Michael McKinney is as well. Okay? Anyway, folks, do you have any other questions? Rob's not seeing that ash in Phoenix yet. I hope you don't. I hope it doesn't come that far south. By the time it reaches me, there's not probably going to be much ash in it. I hope. Now, what I want to do during the rest of our time, I want to talk about emergency operations plans, emergency planning. Each and every one of us should be writing an emergency plan, an emergency preparedness plan. I'm going to give you information tonight to further your scope of knowledge about emergency preparedness plans. Okay? I call it emergency operations plans, an EOP. Okay? Not to be confused with an EOC, which is an emergency operations center. An EOP is an emergency operations plan. Okay? We're talking about emergency planning here. You need to write an emergency plan for each one of you, for your families. Every family should have a plan, an emergency plan about how they are going to handle emergencies in your specific area. It could be earthquakes, it could be tornadoes, it could be really bad weather, i.e. heavy snow like you've seen in California, Utah, Nevada, Idaho, Colorado, and points east. Albany, New York, for example. You may need an emergency operations plan if you live in an area with snow, or a place with high winds, or you have tornadoes that plummet your area. You have hurricanes. Anything that could result in some disastrous event happening in your area, you need an emergency operations plan. Heck, it could be a loss of a job, a loss of your job or a family member's job that contributes a great amount of money to your family. Loss of a job can be considered an emergency, because then you would be able to delve into the information in your operations plan to figure out how you're going to proceed. Putting together resumes, contacting businesses that could possibly hire you. I used to contact at least 3 businesses a day in order to get a job. 3 businesses a day times 5, guess what? I've contacted 15 possible employers a week, sometimes more. But this is just an example. You need to write an emergency operations plan for yourself. Rebecca Griffin says, what good is an emergency plan if I make a plan for it home and the disaster happens while I'm out camping or away from my cats? Because your plan should also involve all of those scenarios. whether you're away from home or you're at home. Your plan doesn't necessarily have to stop with you being away from home. Put part of your plan as you being out of the house, camping, working, going to the grocery store, whatever. Make sure your plan covers every scenario on what you need to do. Army medic says, I collected some and looked at it under a microscope. I saved a slide. That's great. That's awesome. Everybody, like I said, needs a plan. Rebecca is worried about big earthquakes. Okay, she's a friend of mine, guys. I know her. She says the only thing I'm waiting for is a big earthquake so I can see Mother Nature. Well, yeah, you're going to get it. You and everybody else. Animals and humans in disasters. Rebecca has a great question. Cats are notorious for hiding during a disaster. How to care for them and what to feed them. Think about all this. What do you normally feed your cat, your dog, your hamster, your ferret, or whatever? Make sure you have plenty of food for your animals. I'm certified in animals and disasters. That's one of my certifications. Okay? Hurricane Heather says it's magnetic dust. Yes, there would be some iron in that ash from the volcano. Okay? Anyway, let's go on to your emergency plan. And yes, Rebecca, you need to write an emergency plan covering any kind of event that would happen during your normal day. What kind of emergency would you find? What would happen? Now, your emergency preparedness plan should be a guide that will assist you and your family to better be prepared at all levels and maintain viable, all hazard and all threats emergency preparedness. This plan will promote a common understanding of the fundamentals of risk-informed planning and decision-making to assist your management team, your family, your parents, you as parents, to examine a hazard or a threat and produce an integrated and coordinated and synchronized response plan. Let me break that down to everyday language. Your plan should cover any kind of scenario, like Rebecca, whether she's home or not. Okay? Whether you take your animals with you or not. Whether your children are with you or not. All that stuff can be written into your plan, because when an emergency happens, you're not going to have your head together. You're going to forget information. So when an emergency happens, you can go to your plan and you have a plan, point by point by point, of what you need to have, what you need to do, how you can get through the disaster or the emergency and come out the other side. Now, emergencies and disasters might last a few hours to several days, or even months. You need to figure all that out into your emergency plan. Don't just plan for a day or two. Plan for weeks and or months. Plan this out over long term. What if it happens that there's an earthquake, a major earthquake, and the power's out for a long time? Great big huge fissures are in your area and nobody can get to you. How are you going to react? Those fissures will not be covered up in hours. maybe not in days or weeks. How are you going to get around? How are you going to have food unless you already have it? That's why we've talked about emergency preparedness and food storage, and survival foods, and water storage, and survival water. Okay? That's why we talked about this. Okay? Your emergency plan cannot by design be so comprehensive that it covers all kinds of activities. Your business, for example. Each and every family or each and every business are different. So when you put your emergency plan together, your plan will be different than mine. My plan will be different than yours, or your neighbors, or my friends. Each plan is individual. Okay? Each family must have their own emergency operations plan. Okay? And that emergency operations plan can and will include your guidelines, your rules, or your regulations for your family or your business. Okay? Guidelines and procedures with emphasis on individual needs. Make sure the emphasis is on individual needs. Don't leave anyone out. Don't leave your pets out. Make sure your pets are part of your plan. They're your kids. My pets are my children. Your pets are your children. If you write an emergency preparedness plan for your business, your employees are your family. Plan for each and every person's needs. Don't forget anybody. Everybody is important. Okay? Emphasis on individual needs, their abilities, and the availability of goods and services to you and your family or your business. Don't forget anything. Okay? Animals and humans in disasters, my emergency plan is how do I start? I'm going to tell you that. Last night we got talking about emergency plans last night. That plan period last night that we talked about is for beginners. What does a beginner need to think about? What do you need to do as a beginner to write an emergency plan or an emergency bug out plan? That's what we talked about last night. Animals and Humans in Disaster says, my emergency plan is how do I start? After that, you are only reacting to what is in front of you, and you're exactly right. Plan for every kind of an emergency that you might even think that could happen in your area, in your town, in your city, in your neighborhood. Any possible kind of disaster or emergency that could confront you. That all should be in your plan. Okay? You need to write everything down. Okay? Emergency plans sometimes will seem routine across all phases of your operations of your family. It might seem routine, but in an emergency, you are going to lose sight of what's important. You're not going to be thinking clearly. No one does. I don't care whether you're the CEO of some major company. Even you are not going to think completely clear. That's why we need to write everything down. Okay? Now, we've talked about this before, and I'm going to say it again. It is recommended that you revise your plan over time. Even if you write the plan today and tomorrow you think of something else, write it down. You can revise your plan at any time. It's your plan. Even after you finish your emergency operations plan, don't forget that you can take it down and revise it. Take it down off the shelf, dust it off on a frequent basis. Go through it, and if you see something that you think might need to be changed, change it. Change it. That's what's so important about these plans. The plans should be fluid. The plans can change at any time, and that's just fine. This is not like a written test where you can't go through and change your answers. You can. You can go through it at any time and revise it. Now, any emergency plan can be revised and revised and revisited at any time. The plan can be taken off the shelf and exercised. Exercised on a regular basis at least twice each year. With your family or your business, take the plan down and after you revise it, talk, and I'm going to talk on a business level and a family level. If you have a business, you're going to get involved with all your managers, your management team, and they're going to help contribute to the plan. Your managers are going to go back out into the company to each individual, and they may have questions or they may have things that they want to add. Those managers take that back to the boss, and the plan is again revised. Then, once you think you have the plan to where you want it to be right, you write up the plan and make it available to management and to your employees. In the case of your family, you want to get your family together on a regular basis and talk about your emergency plan. Even your kids might be able to give you information that you would need. Even your children, even my dogs, yes, they cannot talk English. They bark. But every time I'm around them, I have new ideas of things that I might want to add in regards to my pups. Because I love them. You love your kids and your pups, and your cats and your rats and everything else that you have as pets. That's okay. That's completely normal. Take it off the shelf and then drill. Hold an emergency operations drill at least twice a year. That way your entire family, your children, your spouse, everybody knows what's on that plan. You discuss it with them, maybe even once a month. Is there anything else that we want to revise when it comes to this plan? That way everybody is constantly thinking about it. If they think about some changes that could happen to your emergency plan, tell them to write it down, and then on a monthly basis or twice a month or whatever you want to do, you bring those ideas together and you can revise your plan at any time. The plan is not written in stone. The only time it's written in stone is when you have an emergency or disaster that you're dealing with. And even then, you might change some things that you want to be doing. But at least you have a step-by-step plan to go on. Okay? Notes should be taken. When you have a disaster drill, you take notes about something that may have worked great, something that may need to be revised a little bit, or something that didn't work at all. Then you go back into the plan and rewrite it. That way, those mistakes don't happen again. It's called an after-action report. An after-action report. Okay? During each exercise, every exercise, take notes. So you can go back to the after-action report, write it, and continue putting information in your plan. This is important. This is very, very important. Your plan should be formulated to enable every family member, every employee in your business, in your family, to know how to react during and after any disaster or emergency in order to save their own lives, as well as all of our guests, our family members or neighbors that may need to have help. Okay? So you will be able to recover your family and anyone that you love near you. Write everything down. It's important. It's vitally important that each family member or each employee knows about and reviews their part in this plan. Just like I said, take the plan down and discuss it with your family members or with your employees. Okay? Supervision and management, parents, need to review these plans with each other and with your family members on a regular basis. Share the information with everyone in your family, all of your employees, and discuss their plans on what they need to do for their families. If you have employees in your business, their families are also important, and though their families may impact the running of your business during an emergency, but you cannot just ignore that. It's all part of the plan. And if you include those members of your business and their families, you will likely be able to come out with your business very well. If you include your family members in your plan's going to work. If you don't, your plan is going to fail. You have to include everybody in your emergency plan. Every individual is important. Every individual's ideas are important. Everyone needs to be comfortable with implementing your plan when an incident occurs. Special emphasis needs to be placed on representing and engaging the entire community, your entire company, your entire family. And this may also include your close neighbors, if you have neighbors that you're very close to. Okay? You need to have access and functional needs. Access and functional needs should be part of your plan. How are you going to access your plan? What do you think are functional needs to make sure your plan works? Your needs, your children, your household pets, your service animals, your spouse, your employees. You need to think about each and every one individual. Your role in your family, your role in your business is critical. Now, I have shared and taken responsibility to my appropriate actions in writing my individual after action reports. When I do drills, I have taken responsibility for everything in my plan. I have taken responsibility for my family because I am the one that wrote the plan. But every parent should take responsibility. It's just not one person. Everybody should have an opinion, an idea for the plan. They need to all be a part of it. Okay? Planning engages and includes everyone. All parts of your community. Your family. Your community is your business family. Your community could be your neighbors, your close friends. Everybody needs to be resilient, and I hate that word. That word is used by the government in a negative way. They want to control everybody. Our plans are not for controlling anybody but ourselves. We need to be able to keep our family members close and make sure each and every one of them have their own opinions inserted into the plan, so every person can be served by what we're doing every day, every week, every month of the year. Okay? Preparedness plans are just this. Okay? My buddy Don Patoka that's here in this chat, he puts out information every day about planning. Okay? Protection. Prevention. Response. Recovery. And mitigation. Let me repeat that. You need to write these 5 things down. Prevention, protection, response, recovery, and mitigation. Those are the areas that you really need to pay attention to. Those 5 areas are very important. Those 5 areas will get you through an emergency. When you think about putting together your emergency plan, think about those 5 areas and write information in regards to each of those areas. Okay? Now, I continue to address risks. Some people might call me a risk manager, because that basically is my function as an emergency manager. Helping mitigate risk, help saving lives. That's part of this whole thing. Okay? Now, I'm going to address all the risks that might impact each and every one of us, in our families, in our communities. Okay? I encourage each and every one of you to engage in your community, engage in your family. How many times do I say that? Engage in your family. Gather your family together. If you got a business, gather your supervisors, your managers, or all of your employees. Make them feel like they are A1, number 1 important. Each and every member of your family is absolutely important in order to make sure your plan works. If it doesn't work, you have forgotten something. And like I said, that's easy to do. That's why you need to write it down. Okay? Everybody will work better together if you have addressed each and every individual. Organize what you need. Organize what you need. Organize what you need. I've said it 3 times. That means it's important. Okay? That means it's important. Okay? Ensure your emergency plans are developed and go through an analysis of risk. After you write your plan down, go through an analysis of risk. What happens if I don't react in a responsible manner? What happens if we do this? Will it hurt any member of my family or hurt me or anybody that I'm around? Address risk. Evaluate and reevaluate. Evaluate and revisit it. Again, revision is a part of an emergency preparedness plan. It can be revised at any time. Okay? Identify assumptions and resource demands. Identify assumptions on the part of your family members. What will they just assume? What are their individual needs? Their demands? Okay? What do they need to have on a daily basis or even an hourly basis if necessary? Okay? Now, prioritize your plans. Prioritize your plans and your planning efforts to support seamless transition from development of your plan to execution for any threat or hazard. Let me break this down so you can understand it. Make sure you revisit everything. Okay? Prioritize your plans. Planning efforts support seamless transition from one part of your life or one part of your business to the next. From normal life to an emergency, and emergencies through the emergency out the other side. Okay? That's what we're talking about, seamless transition. So nothing is forgotten. If you forget something when you come out of the disaster, you will not have been successful, and you're going to ask yourself why something happened or why something did not happen. That's a part of it. Plans are not scripts. Remember this. Plans are not scripts followed to the letter, but plans are flexible and adaptable to any actual situation. Plans are not script. Plans are guidance only. Plans are flexible and adaptable. And if you have to write what it is adaptable to, do it and revise your plan accordingly. Okay? Effective plans convey your goals and objectives of your intended operation during your emergency, whatever it might be. Okay? The plans should convey your goals and what you want to achieve during an emergency. Keeping your head on straight can be part of that. Okay? Remember goals and objectives. They're all part of this plan. Integrate and synchronize efforts. Integrate and synchronize efforts between you, your spouse, and your children. You, your spouse, your business partner, your managers, and your employees. Involve everybody in your planning efforts. Okay? Even to the extent that you pull information from your local government so you are better aware of everything going on around you during your emergency. Whatever you're planning for, make sure that you also think what aids that the government might be able to give you. Your local government, your city or your town, your neighborhood. What other things might be available to help you? Okay? Think about that. Your city, state, local governments could ensure maximum safety for you. And you ensure maximum safety for your family. Okay? Now this goes through the entire scenario of your life, of each and every emergency or disaster that you face, until you come out the other side and recover from your disaster or your emergency. Recovery is very important. Recovery from emergencies and disasters are going to ensure your mitigation efforts are seamless in order to ensure your business or your family recovers and your family members, your employees and guests continue to thrive. That's important. If you and your family are not thriving after the disaster is finished, you've missed something. And you have to go back and revise your plan so it does not happen again. So you can go forward and be positive about what you just went through and what you need to do. Your plans can always be revised. Okay? Successful operations occur when your organization, your family, your business partners, your family, your employees know what their roles are, understand how they all fit into the overall plan, and how they are going to help you execute your plan. Like I said, each and every family member are important. They can help you exercise and get through your plan. They can help you execute your plan. And when that happens, you all are going to feel very loving towards each other. You're going to find greater respect for each other. And it's all going to draw you closer together. So think about that as a goal. Okay? Now, during the coming days and weeks, I'm going to provide you detailed information about planning considerations for specific functions, specific hazards, and threats. I'm going to give you information on how you can get through any kind of function, any kind of hazard, any kind of threat that you might be able to face. And if this happens correctly, you can also help me help you. Okay? GB Map says, Ron, I think getting antibiotics from JC Medical is a good idea. I agree. The thing is, how long before they all expire? That's what you need to think about. That can be written into your plan. You need to be using these antibiotics during this given time period. If you don't, you need to think about throwing those out. And you can always add antibiotics to your emergency kit. You can always do that. Medicines do expire. Don't use medicines necessarily just because they're expired. Some expired medicines are just fine for a length of time. Some may become less effective. Other liquids may go bad. They will taste horrible. Don't take them. Stay away from that. Those could poison you. Okay? Now, do you guys have any questions? I just wanted to get into this on a preliminary basis tonight. I have 112 pages to go through. I want to make sure that we cover everything. That we cover everything. That's my goal. That's my goal. To make sure we go through everything so that we are covered. And it might take us a week. It might take us 2 weeks. I hope we have that long. Okay? I hope we have that long. Emergencies are important because they could end our life, or they could end the life of someone that we love and care about. We need to plan for any kind of emergency or disaster that we might confront. Write everything down. If you have questions, let me know so we can go back to that. Okay? I'll be happy to cover everything for everybody. But it's important that you let me know something that could help you. Demon Cat lives in Eastern Britain. What he does might be a little bit different than what I do or what you do. Okay? Everything is contingent on your area. Think about that. Demon Cat says laws for inclusion for those with disabilities, but it ends up being down to the decisions and the discretion of the companies whether they take you or not. You're absolutely right, Demon Cat. Absolutely right. Okay? Think about all this. Think about how it applies to you. Start writing your plan now. I've talked about this before. You need to get on it now. That's why I'm taking so much time talking about this. It's not just a one-time meeting here. It's not just a one-time thing. This may take some time. I want to make sure we can get through this and give you as much possible information as we can so that you and your families will find some peace from knowledge of what you need to do. That's what this whole thing is about. Peace and happiness. Peace and literal happiness from what we have been given. From what we've been given in our lives. Okay? Now, I want to share a thought in closing. Again, this comes from Scripture. Is Scripture important? I think it is. That's why I keep coming to this. Every day I try to share with you something that I feel is important. Okay? This comes from the book of Amos towards the end of the New Testament, towards the end of the Old Testament. This comes from Amos chapter 3, verses 7 through 8. Think about this. Think about this. Animals and Humans in Disaster says, Wolfman, I won a $100,000 grant for whatever years to work with small communities and special needs in Arizona for neighbors helping 80s to help Demon Catman of the world. That's wonderful. People that help people with disabilities are awesome. And I'm so very grateful that you got that grant money. That is awesome. Now, let me go to this scripture. Okay? Again, this is Amos chapter 3, verses 7 through 8. It says, Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secrets unto his servants the prophets. The plan hath roared. The lion hath roared. Who will not fear? The Lord God hath spoken. Who can but prophesy? Okay? The lion hath roared. Who will not fear? The Lord God hath spoken. Who can but prophesy? Okay? Folks, we have leaders. We have leaders. The Lord has given us leaders to help us. The Lord has given us information in his scriptures to help us. Folks, I'm here to help you. I love and care about each and every one of you, or I would not even be doing this. It took me months to write some of these plans, depending on who they were for. It took me months. I'm trying to help you develop plans to help yourself. Each individual and each family are important, separately and collectively. Please, folks, pay attention to what we're saying. If something is confusing, let me know and I'll try to help explain it in a different way to help each and every one of you. This is important. Now, we are going through a lot of time and trouble here, not just on this program, but throughout our worlds. The snow is melting in areas where it's going to flood, and it's already flooding. Again, I'm going to tell you, if you live in the United States especially, and this could apply in Britain or Scandinavia or Germany or Austria or wherever, go to your home improvement centers and get sandbags. Most of the time those sandbags are going to be free, and the sand that they have, they will make available to you until it's gone, and then they'll get more. Make sure you have what you need to help yourself. Okay? There's going to be flooding. The weather is always changing. There's going to be tornadoes. There's going to be hurricanes within the next 2 to 3 months. all kinds of wind events, all kinds of rain weather events. We're coming into the spring and summer now. Make sure you are prepared. Make sure you are prepared. Take your scriptures down off the shelf. Take your scriptures down off the shelf. I have scriptures downstairs. I have scriptures in my bedroom. I have got scriptures here in my office. I am always reading the scriptures for inspiration, for advice. I read the scriptures for you to be able to help each and every one of us. My buddy Don Patokas here again in the chat. Remember to pray for guidance of the still small voice. Make sure you pray for guidance of the still small voice. He will help you. I know that Jesus lives. He leads and guides us. His inspirations for all of us. Read your scriptures for information. They will help you. May God bless you. May God bless you. I hope what we've talked about in whatever way, whether it's earthquake-wise, whether it's the collapse in New York, or whatever, I hope it's been beneficial to all of you, to all of us. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the New Madrid Fault, and I'm also going to bring to the masses here more information on emergency planning. Okay? We're going to continue to talk about it until we've gone through an actual emergency plan, because I want you to have that. I've taken an awful lot of time here to talk about it. I've taken an awful lot of time over the years compiling this information. Now, I want to thank some people that also provided donations to what we're doing here. Linda Covington sent us a PayPal donation. Kim Hopkins sent us a PayPal donation. I talked about this woman, Donna Howard, one of my relatives, sent us a PayPal donation before that. Kim Hopkins and Linda Covington sent it through Venmo. We have 2 PayPal locations and we have a Venmo location where you can send us support. That's wonderful. We also have our P.O. Box, P.O. Box 422, Valdese, North Carolina. The zip code is 28690. We got 2 donations today, one from a woman in Oklahoma. We got another donation from our buddy here. One of our mods sent us a donation and a wonderful card. Look at this card. This is awesome. Thinking of you. I love cards. I love cards. Almost every card, I think I do have every card that anybody sent me, and many of the letters that you all have sent me over the years. Again, we've been doing this 4 years. I have a box of cards and letters right behind me. This one, Rob says, Ron, some people make the world more special. So happy you're a part of mine. Thank you again for all of you do on your channel. Blessings always, Brother Rob. Thank you, Rob, for that. I really appreciate it. This other woman who is a viewer sent me a little note and also sent me a donation, which I greatly appreciate. It helps us pay the bills and helps us keep on track of what we're doing to make sure we can get on the air. It takes money to stay on the air, I found. Staying on the air isn't cheap. I have to buy time on the internet. It takes money to be able to stay on the air and have decent coverage. I make sure that happens for all of you. I want to make sure you get the most for what you do, for what we're all doing. Linda Covington says, sending hugs and love. Thanks, mods, Ron, Don, EMA family. I love all of you guys, our mods, our wonderful mods. You guys are awesome. Our wonderful family here. You guys are awesome. Thank you for all you do for me and for each other. You guys help each other, and that's what this channel is based on. Love and help. That's what we're doing here. We are a family. And for that, I'm grateful. Now, folks, I hope you have a good night. I hope we have enough people here and we have the information to give you so that it helps each and every one of you and your families. That's what we want. That's why we do everything here, so we can help everybody. Guys, I ask the Lord to bless you, to hold you in His hands, to actually help each and every one of you, and He will. Folks, as we leave here, may you know that God is with you. May God bless you and keep you. May God be with you this day and always. God be with you till we meet again. We will see you around the corner. Good night, everybody. Much love.